Welcome one and welcome all to the greatest show of them all. It is, even though some people don't know it exists, once again, the NFC East Mixtape, which you can watch on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel for Dallas Cowboys content or the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel for Philadelphia Eagles content. He is Brandon Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. I am RJ Ochoa from Blog of the Boys. BLG, tell the people that we've been doing this for a while to get on YouTube. We know that you want a podcast. That's out of our control, but this does exist.
Yeah, very surprisingly, and by surprisingly, I mean not at all, because we don't really publicize it a lot. But the surprising element to me was that the Philadelphia Eagles lost this week, and I saw Eagles fans being like, "Hey, we need the mixtape." So that's kind of funny, because I would not have anticipated people wanting to hear about the Eagles losing 3 games in a row. Cowboys also did lose, so we'll get to that. But yeah, here we are talking to you on YouTube, not podcast audio, YouTube only. I'm sure there's a way I'm sure there's ways to convert the YouTube to audio, right? I'm sure there's sites out there, methods.
Yeah, and I also think this is not an ad, but if you have, my mom has YouTube Premium, and that allows you to like download stuff, you know, like my parents travel on. I think that, I'm not certain, but I think you can like download and play audio only, something like that. There is at least a YouTube way out there, not an ad, but
also,
you know,
like,
or you could,
like, I know, like, it's annoying to not have the podcast. I totally feel people on that, but if we're gonna do the show, you can't be like, well, I'm not gonna. You either like the NFC East Mixtape and you're gonna find a way to watch it and consume it, or you don't. So I don't want to be like, I'm not trying to be too mean here, but like, you kind of have to deal with what it is.
This is more of a philosophical discussion, but you and I, we have found in our years of doing this, are really similar in a lot of ways. And we both love podcasts, listen to a lot of podcasts. I have definitely become one of the people, like I've seen a lot of data that a lot of people primarily consume their podcasts over YouTube now. Like there's a lot of shows that I used to only listen to that I now, you know, here in the office, throw up on YouTube in the background, whatever, while I'm doing X, Y, or Z. So we could be that for you, whoever you are. That's kind of
if one of my favorite podcasts went to YouTube only, I would be annoyed for sure, but I would find a way to consume it still.
Yeah, like again, maybe you can't consume it while you're driving or you're working out or you're walking through the grocery store the way you could in your earbuds or whatever. But like I said, there's got to be a time where you fire up the iPad or something. You know, whatever, like we make it through as a collective.
Are you in or are you out?
Oh my gosh,
the diehards here.
Eagles Girl 52 is kind of the perfect example. Says I used to be able to listen to y'all as I did my groceries, etc. And so we appreciate you, Eagles Girl 52, because Eagles Girl 52 found a way to get here and has adjusted and amended her life so that we can all be together. Brandon and I are very, very thankful for that. And Brandon and I would have it be a podcast if we could. So we're not mad, but we're just addressing the issue that we continue to run into. But
I don't want casuals here. I want people who are committed to this, or get the hell out of here. That's how I feel about it. I mean, I want everyone to listen. I'm not trying to be mean to anyone. Like, please come in and listen. Everyone's welcome. But if you're gonna be like, man, it's too hard, then get out of here. Don't even watch then. Don't even listen if it's too hard. I'm sorry.
If you don't want to watch, that's fine. But maybe just like the video, subscribe. Like those things help. You know, so just do that. You know, just dip in, check that out, whatever. But okay, so it's Wednesday, December 10th.
Everyone has turned off the show after I've
2025. Happy Hump Day. You said it, not me. The Eagles lost on Monday night, losers of 3 straight games, and I will tell you, because we're talking about the Eagles first, because we go in divisional order. Every Cowboys fan was super down over the weekend. It felt like everything had slipped through their hands. Like they just could not, you know, afford to slip up. And the Eagles said, we got you. We're going to give you a lot more hope across the final 4 weeks of this season. And it was Jalen Hurts individually who did it. What a choke artist, Jalen Hurts. Loser.
I mean, this is pathetic of you to say he's a choker. I mean,
I'm just jumping on. I'm just stirring the pot while I can. That's really all I'm here to do.
Yeah, I mean, he did play poorly. It's absolutely fair to criticize him. But
I think the criticism is way out of line for this game. He's been really bad. Like, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, he hit A.J. Brown for a touchdown. Like, even the tip interception off of A.J. Brown's hands, like, that's on A.J. Like, I think there are games where he deserved more criticism than this one. But this is the one that is, like, getting the headlines, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I also don't think it's like you can say he's played poorly, and he has, but he hasn't played like this poorly each week. That's not true. Like, 5 turnovers one game is obviously extreme, and it's not like, oh, I'm worried he's going to do that again. down the stretch here. Like I'm very confident he's not going to turn the ball over 5 times in a game again. Clip that if it happens. So
I had a friend who at a house party once didn't know that there was a glass door, and he was like excited to get there, and he ran in and like broke it, right? Like
I've
just kind of walked
definitely
through.
run into a screen like that in my
Right. So
lifetime.
it wasn't like an insane act of belligerence or anything. He just truly didn't see it, but he broke it. And so, like, I don't know, a few months later, we were there, and not to be like all back in the day, whatever, but this individual was the one who was tapping a cake. He was using the the tap to set it up, whatever, for the evening. And I was watching him, like I was talking to somebody, and I saw him do it, and I saw him break it. I saw it just like break in his hand, and I could see the thought in his mind go like, everyone's gonna say I'm the dude who breaks stuff at this house. Like, you know what I mean? Just because it was the coincidence of it happening. And so like sometimes things like that happen that are beyond your control, that are just like, oh my gosh, like this is gonna be what everyone throws in my face. And so the turnovers in general are that for Jalen Hurts, but the 2 turnovers in a singular play and the monstrous inkification of it all, like it's that's I think that's why it's so like soaking wet in just memeability, if that makes sense.
Bad Jalen game. Turnovers. I mean, you just can't turn the ball over 5 times. Analysis. But yet, despite that, had he come through at the end, like that wouldn't have mattered. He would have had
Tony
4
Romo had a
interceptions at
Monday
that
night
point.
game like that once upon a time.
And like you said, he had a touchdown pass to AJ Brown that was dropped basically late in the game. So like that's why I don't think it's like fair to say he choked, because he definitely didn't play well, but he also was let down multiple times, specifically by AJ Brown, which was tough and not a good AJ Brown game. Even though he posted good numbers, I thought like he kind of reminded me of 2020 Alshon Jeffrey out there at times. It's like the way he was running around and just clearly heart not in it. And I mostly blame him for that, but I don't like 100% blame him for that. And this kind of ties into the Jalen of it all too. I think everyone on offense is not playing with confidence. Like I don't think that's just the players at that point, and they've created this like toxic environment on offense, and it's so stark when you look at like the defense and the swagger they play with. It's so night and day that I don't want to sit here and tell you like, well, they can't possibly play well because they're sad. But like, there's a human element to this that is very real, and they just don't have it. They clearly just do not have it. There's people saying that actually this game was kind of encouraging from a film perspective on the offense, because it's like if you just take out the turnovers, kind of hard to do. And I don't even think that's crazy to say, because that's our own Johnny Page at Bleeding Green Nation did a good film breakdown about that. But like the bigger picture, you zoom out, the Eagles have scored 8 touchdowns in their last 5 games. Only the Las Vegas Raiders have scored fewer touchdowns. The Eagles play the Raiders this weekend, by the way. So like it's pathetic. It's the most expensive offense in the NFL, as I come on the show here and say every single week by far. And the fact that they just cannot get it going. Can't even be a mediocre offense. I've seen some people say like, oh, the offense is mediocre. No, it's not. That would be a massive upgrade. The offense sucks, like flat out sucks. It's terrible. It's awful. It's so awful. Aesthetically, like to watch, it's just so incredibly boring. And results wise, it's terrible. This is their worst. Okay, this is the Eagles' worst offensive stretch in 13 years. You have to go back to Andy Reid's last season in Philadelphia, total disaster, 2012, to like have an offense that's been this unproductive in terms of points scored over their last 5 games. Like it's just so pathetic. There's no answers. The quarterback isn't providing them. And you would like him to do that based on he's the quarterback and he's getting paid $250 million to try to lift the team up. But he can't do that. The offensive players can't do that. The coaching staff can't do it. It's kind of disaster. It's not kind of disaster. It is a disaster. And it's a shame because the defense deserves better. This Eagles defense is really good. They had a bad game against the Bears, obviously. But like they have been a really good unit, and they played well enough to win that game on Monday night. They allowed 19 points in regulation. Chargers scored a touchdown their first drive, and scored another touchdown the whole game. Like how do you not win that game with an offense that has all this talent, is all this resources invested in it? So just a really pitiful performance.
A lot to react to. One, you talked about the human element and being sad or but I'm not trying to minimize that, but that was kind of the blanket you threw over it. and how it is real, right? Like how you can't just like snap out of it because you're talented or whatever. I recognize the low hanging fruit that is 2023, but like that's an example for a reason. Like that literally it happened. Like, and they were less talented than I would offer personally, because Saquon wasn't a part of that team, but they just fell asleep. You know what I mean? They just couldn't get out. We've all been in ruts in life, right? Like we've all had moments where it's just like, I don't feel like doing this, I don't feel like doing that, and you're just going through the motions. And I don't know I don't think anyone knows what that is with the Eagles, but it does, the outsider's perspective does seem like everyone manifested it. You tweeted, and I didn't get a chance to bring this up in the mixtape right after because Stats was here, and I'm happy about that. But you tweeted in the Cowboys game after the comeback and everything. You said that was a tough game for all the Eagles do is win crowd, or like the Eagles fans who were propping up the record because
specifically about Sirianni too. Yeah. But
right,
yes.
But like, because there was before the losing streak, a lot of, I don't say a lot, but some Eagles fans were saying, why are people mad? Whatever, they look at them, yes, they're 8-2, they're winning games. So like, it was to that crowd, and that point has been amplified, 2 more different times, obviously with 2 more different losses. But to that point, I'm not accusing anybody like you, but like, it does seem like everybody almost like willed this into existence, almost like manifested this. I'm not
this.
What?
You wrote about this for SB Nation.
Right. Well, it just feels strange. And like maybe the problems were if that's not true, then you have to say, and I think this was kind of the case in 2023, because they had all those shaky wins through that first half of the season, like the Buffalo game that year, whatever. So then they were this team all along, and they were just catching the right side of the coin flip. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can't be like, oh, everything was just good, and now it's 0% good. Like, they're the same team, or they manifested this is kind of my point. And I mean that seriously.
Who manifested? The fans manifest. The fans are
no.
blaming the fans for the team being bad.
I think the roster did. Like, they were so like unhappy. The take about fans like, oh, you guys should be happy you won the Super Bowl. Like, I really don't have an opinion on that. If some people want to be happy, great. If some people want to feel like, hey, they won the Super Bowl last year, but this team should be better, that's up to them. Like, you have a right to demand more from your football team. So I'm not talking about the fan perspective on this, but like the AJ Brown of it all. AJ Brown's kind of the microcosm, I think, of saying like, this sucks. Before, things obviously sucked. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, well, dude, you were right. Although now AJ Brown, it's like, well, dude, you said it sucked, and then you sucked. So like, everything really sucks now. Mm-hmm. So my point is like, when was the last time everything was good? I guess is the best question to ask.
Probably when they were lifting the Lombardi Trophy. Yeah, honestly, they just haven't had joy this year.
Even then, I think about the AJ Brown tweet like a week later, whatever it was, when he was like, I've realized, and I don't think he was wrong for this, but so like, my point is like, no one has ever been happy, even before it was justifiable to not feel happy the way it certainly is right now.
Asked Wikipedia, as if like people can't edit that. Like, there's like someone who runs Wikipedia.
I didn't know the right analogy to make. That one felt right in my mind.
I mean, yeah, there's truth to that. They look joyless. They look joyless in 2023 as well, and that seemed to be a big focus going into 2024. I remember there were like stories about that heading into.
That was a story at halftime of this game.
I know. Nick Sirianni said that. They're playing with confidence and joy. No, they're not. Nick, what game are you watching? The defense might be. That's fair to say. I think you could say that about the defense. Can't say that about like the overall team and that mostly the offense. I don't think they manifested it. I think it's just the reality that's been. These concerns were here. I had these concerns at 8-2. I picked them to lose to the Cowboys. I thought they were going to lose that game. They did lose that game. I obviously see it going that way. But this offense has been. To me, it goes back to just coming out of the bye against the Packers. And I was so discouraged, even though they won that game. And it's a big win, like important win. But for the offense to play as poorly as they did, it was like, man, it just felt like things may have been trending in the right direction. After you beat the Vikings, Jalen Hurts has a perfect pass rating in that game. You beat the Giants, the running game gets back on track. It's like, okay, things are pointing in the right direction. You're getting healthier. Then you come out against the Packers and you look like that. And then the offense has basically sucked since then, other than the first half against the Cowboys of one of the worst defenses in the league. And then did literally nothing in the second half. It's just I just don't know where the hope is with that unit. I really don't.
I know that this point's probably been made a lot, but the first place I saw it was from, speaking of YouTube, my friend Thomas Mott, who has an amazingly popular Eagles channel. Have I ever told you my history with Thomas? Thomas is the man.
I've been on with him before. He's had me on his show.
I won the inaugural Rock the Mic competition at what was ESPN San Antonio in 2016. Not trying to brag, but just like that happened. And Thomas won it 2 years later. And so we worked a lot together and whatnot. So I've watched his career take off and thrive, and really, really happy for him and proud of him and impressed with him. But so he was the first person I saw tweet this, that if this year is 2023 for the Cowboys, a lot of Eagles fans were saying that Monday night was equivalent to the Seahawks loss that year, which was also on like if you're going like 1 for 1, and that would make this Raiders game the Cardinals game of that year, which was, whatever, not
didn't line up exactly
linear
that way.
Yeah, not because that year the Eagles, that Monday night game was their 3rd loss in a row, kind of like this year. But then, as I'm sure you're aware of and everyone's aware of, they hosted the Giants that Sunday and they won, although barely, before losing to the Cardinals. But it does kind of feel that way. I obviously am scared to believe that it's going to happen, but like, how could anyone believe that it's going to turn around for the Eagles right now?
I don't think it's going to turn around in a major way. I do still think they're going to win 2 games down the stretch. That's what I said before the Chargers game. I picked them to lose to the Chargers. I think the Eagles are going to win 2 of their final 5 games. I think they're going to split with Washington. I think they're going to beat the Raiders. The Raiders are terrible. Right. If the Eagles lose to the Raiders, don't play the rest of the games. That's my honest opinion on that. I'm not even like trying to be funny, doing a bit, be dramatic. I legitimately feel that way. Like, if you can't beat the Las Vegas Raiders as 11.5-point favorites, like, I don't even care if you cover, just win the game. Like, you can't even play the final 3 games. What's to even play for at that point? So I don't know. I'm not down on the Eagles in the sense of like, they can't win any of these games. I don't feel good about them, to be clear. I do think you can find positives from that game. And I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be that bad the rest of the way. And I think the defense has a chance to be pretty good still. So again, that's why I think they're going to win 2 games and not 0 games. And they're probably going to win the NFC East, even though they shouldn't. And they don't deserve to. The odds on that, by the way, they're minus 1,000. So you'd have to put $1,000 down just to win $100, whereas the Cowboys are plus 750. Do you feel good about that? If you do, that's a great way to win $750 if you want to.
I think if you're a Cowboys fan, it's a bet worth making at this point.
Sure, absolutely. But like, the statistics on that are really bad. Obviously, it's telling you it's not likely to happen.
So I am scrolling back in our Slack chat here. Maybe this was something you texted me, but I mean, because I agree with you, the odds are the odds. Like, and we say all the time, like, odds aren't like wholly representative of anything, but they're valuable and instructive. But like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I think it was a text because it's not in our Slack. You said the Eagles could win the NFC East before Thanksgiving.
They could have. Well, I don't know if that's officially true, but they could have won it definitely, I think, in week 13.
So you were speculating it, and then this message was almost a month ago. On Thursday, November 13th, you slacked. You said, by the way, I ran you did say probably unrealistic scenario. I talked about on the pod. If the Eagles beat the Lions and the Cowboys, which they did beat the Lions, that was their last win, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if the Cowboys lost to the Raiders, Eagles, and Chiefs, which they won all those games.
Those, I mean, they weren't going to lose to the Raiders at the very least.
Right. So it was, but I don't remember what the odds are. Maybe you do off the top of your head. They were like 10,000. Like, they were literally like minus 10,000 for the Eagles to win the NFC East. So like, even if the Eagles do win the NFC East, the fact that they got to this point is pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is you touched on it a little bit earlier. It's absolutely, as more than one thing can be true, fair to say the Eagles won the Super Bowl earlier this year. 2024 was awesome. Might be the best, like, most enjoyable season in Eagles history. Definitely up there, if not number 1. At the same time, it's not like, I don't think the criticism is like the Eagles aren't the best team, blowing everyone out, and therefore they're a disgrace. That would be expecting too much. That's like, okay, you're getting spoiled at that point. The fact is, like, the offense shouldn't be this terrible. Like if they're just kind of offense, then
I just think, like, My opinion is the blame the offensive coordinator trick is so old and tired.
I agree. I've said that.
So it can't be just Kevin Patullo.
I literally said that after game one.
But then it can't then be like, oh well, Nick Sirianni sucks. And what does Nick Sirianni do? Like at some point, Jalen Hurts sucks. I mean, like at some point, Jalen Hurts is not like. And if he doesn't suck, then like, what does he do? If Lane Johnson has to be healthy and AJ Brown has to not be in his feelings and Kevin Patullo has to be competent and Nick Sirianni has to be the proper walk around guy, like what is the point of having Jalen Hurts?
I'm not a Jalen Hurts stan. I'm really not. I find it's honestly, maybe it's just because I like to argue. I find myself arguing with both the people that defend him way too much and criticize him way too much. So he's not above criticism in this. He's absolutely a huge factor. And again, I will admit it's unfair. It's unfair, but like unfair in terms of like a perfect world, but fair in terms of the reality of he's the $250 million quarterback who like has to lift to raise the tide of all boats at some point, and he's not doing that. And I think that you can also say the coaching staff is not helping him enough. I think that's very fair to say. And that's obviously the place to start as well. You're not going to start with the quarterback. You're going to start with the coach. That's the place you look. And I do agree the offensive coordinator thing is lame. What?
It made sense before the offensive coordinator thing, but like it makes sense to like have that conversation, but to say it over and over and over and over again, like it can't just be that. And then but to your point, then the conversation becomes like, well, he's had like whatever it is, like 9 different offensive coordinators in a row or whatever.
And I always think that's a lame conversation from a standpoint too of you can't be the fans who are like fire Kevin Patullo and then now Jalen Hurts is another offensive coordinator. Well, you just wanted that to happen.
Yeah.
People wanted Brian Johnson gone, so you can't like say fire Brian Johnson and then now they're no, Jalen Hurts just has to deal with another offensive coordinator. Like, what do you want? Do you want the continuity? Then maybe you have to stay with someone at some point, which I think they arguably could have done with Brian Johnson. Obviously, it worked out with Kellen Moore, but I do think Brian Johnson, who played a big role in Jaden Daniels' success last year, might actually be good, but that's besides the point. I think ultimately,
you go first.
There is a reality of the Eagles season going this way is like inevitable at some point. It's just hard. It's very hard to repeat. It's very, very hard to do. Teams just do not. I know the Chiefs did it. They don't, but like it's the exception. It's not the norm. It is very, very hard to do. Teams like even getting back to the playoffs after winning the Super Bowl is not guaranteed. Look at the Rams when they won the Super Bowl. They didn't get back. They were terrible that next year after that. Like it's not a guarantee. And look at the Chiefs this year. Obviously they didn't win, but I'm saying like they're pretty disgraceful this season and have looked pretty bad. It's hard. So I think it's fair to point that out. I think it's also fair to point out that Nick Sirianni has not done a good enough job this year. Jalen Hurts has not done a good enough job this year. And you can criticize that. And it doesn't mean you have to fire him or bench him. Although I was also saying the weird thing is some of these things that are being said about Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni were also being said last year. So it's not just like, oh, we all loved them. They won the Super Bowl. And now because they're bad this year, everyone flipped. It's like, no, these conversations were happening before. They won in spite of those things. But now they're not winning in spite of those things. They're actually losing because of those things. So it's absolutely fair to talk about. Like a big conversation in Philly, RJ, has been like, oh, are they going to bench Jalen Hurts? They're not going to bench Jalen Hurts. I will say, I don't think that conversation should be met with this like righteous indignation, which it seems to be met with, because I know on face value, it's like ridiculous to bench the Super Bowl MVP from earlier this year. At the same time, just from a science standpoint, it'd be very fascinating to see what the offense looks like with Tanner McKee, who I think is very good, by the way, independent of Hurts. I'm not even saying like I think Jalen Hurts stinks and therefore Tanner McKee is good. I'm saying I think Tanner McKee, independent of whoever is the starter, is just a good player. I really do think that. And also, do we not learn anything at some point? Like once upon a time, people were like, oh, you can't bench Carson Wentz. You can't do that. Jalen Hurts isn't going to be an upgrade over him. And then you put Jalen Hurts in, and then they go on a run. Same thing with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. Oh, you can't put Foles in. Like, maybe you're wrong about the starting quarterback. And I'm not even saying that, again, it's not going to happen. I'm just saying that, like, we should at least be able to talk about it.
No, I agree with that. I think it's the same, like, beyond the, like, righteous indignation stuff. It's also practically not a real solution, right? Like it's something you talk about, but like given the like obviousness of the situation, it can't happen. And that's also why
you could do it, but it's not
right, but
because there's human beings involved.
This is maybe a hot take in your neck of the woods. If I were starting arbitrary team X and I could, if I had to take one of Nick Sirianni or Jalen Hurts to be my head coach or quarterback, I would take Nick Sirianni over Jalen Hurts.
No.
I mean, I'm not saying I think Sirianni's awesome, but like that would be my choice. That being said, you bringing up the Carson Wentz thing is valuable in 2020 when he was benched. That year was, I know the Eagles had a formidable offensive line before that, but he was like the most sacked quarterback in the NFL that whole year. And their reputation had taken a serious hit. And then Jalen Hurts comes in. I think it was at Green Bay or New Orleans or something like that.
Green Bay.
Yeah, thank you. And
New Orleans was his first start.
Right. And it's like perfect. Like he's not sacked at all, and this was like as Twitter was, really learning that sacks are really large as a quarterback stat and whatever. So there's some version of like Carson Wentz was the quarterback absorbing all the sacks that could be on Jalen Hurts, or at least the discussion is worth having out loud. And that's why it would be, I love this question, by the way, from Michael Wright says, would I rather have McCarthy and Hurts together or Sirianni and Dak? Sirianni and Dak, 100%. There's zero doubt about that. But
I hate that question.
What would your answer be?
I really hate it.
You hate it because you don't want to say Sirianni and Dak.
Well, I mean, I don't want a quarterback who just loses in the playoffs every year. Like that's
okay. But you would have that if you didn't have Sirianni in the staff.
I think, but then Mike McCarthy too. I think we've. Well, here's the thing. I think we've seen quarterback play good enough to overcome. We've seen quarterback play good enough to overcome Mike McCarthy when Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl. So then, therefore, I will say Mike McCarthy and Jalen Hurts.
What if I changed it to Brian Schottenheimer?
I don't know. There's not enough of a sample here. That's incredibly. I don't know. I guess Schottenheimer and Hurts, but I don't know.
So your answer remains the same.
Schottenheimer. I just don't have. I don't know what Brian Schottenheimer is after 10 games or not 10 games, whatever, 13, whatever games they played.
My wife texted me, so she's more important. So sorry. I don't know what you said, but the last thing I was going to say.
Okay, yeah, we've gone long on the Eagles here.
Okay, then let's move on because the next thing was going to be
the last thing you were going to say.
It's just stirring the pot a little bit more, but these are the playoff quarterbacks at this moment in time at Week 15. Bo Nix, Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, Matthew Stafford, Jordan Love, non-Jalen Hurts quarterbacks, but Hurts is the 30 seed at the moment. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy, and Caleb Williams. I don't think there's a single one to go to our like Dak hypothetical that I would take Jalen Hurts over right now.
We have some breaking news, by the way.
I was going to save that too. So when we get to the next, part of the.
Well, what is it about? I don't know what you're referring to.
The breaking news. It's about who the Eagles might be facing.
Okay. Yes.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You were saying you wouldn't take Jalen Hurts over any of the AFC quarterbacks or
any of the playoff quarterbacks, the other 13. The playoffs at the. I'm asking. I'm just saying myself. I'm just throwing it out there.
Jalen Hurts is like the ultimate like Rorschach test.
I think that he is penalized for and praised for the same things. Like he's a nuanceless quarterback in terms of discussion.
I think this year the version of Jalen Hurts we are seeing is not like the version of Jalen Hurts we've seen in the past in terms of like one of the better things about Jalen Hurts, one of the best things about Jalen Hurts, quite frankly, is his mobility and his ability to use his legs. And there's been reporting
that's like his only thing.
That's not his only thing.
It's his only like elite.
That's his only thing. It's a big part of it.
We've gone long on Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, so it's
But I'm saying like two of his best things I would say are running the ball, and also he's had elite turnover avoidance
and fishing for pass interference penalties. Right, you're right.
I don't even think that's true because I don't think he takes enough. I wish he did that more. And he's just not really doing. I mean, he's done that. The turnover avoidance thing for a large stretch of the season, obviously not recently. And the mobility thing isn't there. And it seems to be in part because he doesn't want to, which is like dumb because like the Eagles need to lean into that. He needs to lean into that. So I think when you're And you can't we had this conversation back after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. You can't discount the fact that he rises up in the playoffs in the very biggest game. Like, you can't just brush that aside. He has been amazing in 2 Super Bowls. That's not like a fun fact. That's a reality.
It is a reality. I'm not in any way disputing this, and we've already gone long. So, like, let me be very clear. Jalen Hurts was exemplary in multiple Super Bowls. You could argue was the better quarterback against an all-time quarterback in both of the games that we're talking about here. He has also, people love to bring up like playoff wins and things like that. There are a lot of playoff wins he's had that are substantial. And the fact that we can even quibble about a lot in multiple different directions is representative of a career that has been highly successful. But he's also like, his first playoff win was against the Daniel Jones-led Giants.
Okay.
His second one was against a quarterback-less 49ers team. Like,
now name his next 4.
That I understand.
Jordan
that.
Love, Stafford.
I understand that. My again, there's room for nuance. He also lost to Baker Mayfield and Tom Brady, if we're including that as well. But I mean, so my point is, like, we can't just be like all 100% he does is win. And that's I think what makes the discussion frustrating, not against you, but against some people, is because, and he deserves all the credit. And when you have the Super Bowl performances he had, it makes people talk about you in the ways that people are right now because it matters that much. But at the end of the day, it's possible that you can have just a heroic run or a heroic game or whatever, and that's not who you are across the macro of your career, which seems to be the case for him.
It's kind of what Joe Flacco did when he won the Super Bowl. I mean, he was on the heater in that playoff run.
He is in some ways Joe Flacco. That was another comparison I saw to him, or saw like made that I wanted to bring up, but I forgot. But man. Oh, well, let's get to the Cowboys. They lost. And see, like, Jared Goff was kind of Jalen Hurts from a reputation standpoint early on, right? Like, just a beneficiary of Sean McVay and the Rams and blah, blah, and remade himself, like proved anyone who felt that way to be incorrect about it. And good for him. He was awesome last Thursday night against the Cowboys. The Cowboys were never in that game. And it's, they came out to start the second half, and it was like a matter of, okay, if you can go down and score, maybe you can make this a ball game. And then the interception right away off the tip. And George Pickens, my goodness. Look, and stats, you know what? I love stats, but stats can piss off. After I brought stats on, he had the gall to stir the pot.
Well, stats likes me more than he likes you, clearly.
So he texted us. You heard some of my thoughts here. And I think the chronological nature of my opinion matters here. I was against the George Pickens trade. Nobody will support me on this more than Brandon. I was against the trade. I did not think it was wise. I did say, even though I was against it instantly, that they should get an extension done, because that is the logical thing to do when you make a trade like that for a player in the circumstances that Pickens was in. And had they done so, even despite what happened last Thursday night in Detroit, it would be a huge victory, a huge boost. I would have stood up and applauded the Cowboys front office, and I would be defending it even more than I am now. But the number of people who were for the trade, who all season long were like, I told you, that's why Pickens, he's amazing, I can't wait till the extension gets done, who against the Eagles both times criticized CeeDee Lamb, who said he's a quitter, rip 88 off his back, give it to Pickens, that these people are saying Pickens sucks. See, this is exactly who he was. I didn't, believe at any point ever. I don't want them to do it. I got so many tweets from people like, just place the franchise tag on him. That would be so dumb. That forget your emotions. That would be so dumb from a process standpoint. But independent of how dumb it would be, he has more. And so many people were like, I want to see him earn it. What do you think he's doing? Like, what do you think this literally is? He's literally earning it. Was it poor? I don't even want to call it behavior, but was it poor effort visibly? Yes, it certainly seemed that way. And it seemed that the coaching staff felt that way, that it happened a few weeks after he was benched, him and CeeDee, to be clear, to start the Raiders game for issues that upset Brian Schottenheimer is not a good look. But my goodness gracious, Cowboys fans need to chill out and come down from Mount Pius. And in fact, I would have offered him the extension on Friday. On Friday morning, I would have been like, this is the time. I will totally get this deal done right now, because I waited around and did some stupid stuff. Now it's time for me to strike while the iron is hot for me.
Yeah, I think people are struggling with the idea that more than one thing can be true. I think George Pickens has inarguably been a net positive for the Cowboys, But it's fair to point out the pros, which there have, again, been more of than the cons. But this was a con, and it was a major con. And I think this is exactly why the Steelers got rid of George Pickens. That doesn't mean they were right to do it. Doesn't mean they were smart, but they didn't get rid of him for like no reason. It wasn't like they got rid of him because like, oh, he sucks, he can't play. That's
which was my argument in the summer.
Yes, right. Yeah. Like there was a reason behind it. It might not be a smart reason, but there was an impetus for it. And this kind of lack of effort and terrible game was the impetus because they were like, this guy's good. We know that, but we're probably not going to pay him because this isn't fit for us, culture or whatever. And we don't want to do that. So we're going to get something for him. Again, you can debate the merits of that from their side, but that was like the vision going into it. And this is the downside. And this is also why if I'm the Cowboys, I don't hand George Pickens like a blank check. I don't pay him no matter what. I am willing to give him a lot of money, to be clear, but this is why it's not just like, there has to be a walkaway number at some level. Like if he wants to totally reset the market, be the number one wide receiver in the NFL, no, I'm not paying him that. That's not a good investment to me.
I'm not even disagreeing with you, but to be clear, they empowered him to have that ability, but by walking into this situation the way that they did, which is my long-standing criticism of how they operate. But I'm not even mad at the Cowboys. I think Brian Schottenheimer's handled it the right way. I think Jerry Jones has handled it the right way. They've all said the right things, done the right things. I'm certainly interested in seeing how Pickens responds this week against Minnesota. But these fans who, look, I'm a fan. Like I'm not in any way trying to act like I'm better or anything, but the same people who with me stand and criticize the Cowboys front office for delaying are saying, nope, I only want to pay him when he's perfect. What? Yeah. Like that? Like that's so stupid.
This
like
is who George Pickens is. Like you have to either accept this risk or not. Like you have to live with this downside. This is the reality.
I'm fully fine paying him. And again, the same people who criticized CD gave literally his all and was injured in this game 2 weeks after they said he sucked. I mean, it's just absurd when you really think about it. The other thing is, and I am in no way defending the Cowboys defense, and certainly not this year. I do think they've improved, although the bar for improvement was very, very, very low. But people were so quick to jump on them in this game. And look, you give up 44 points. Like, in retrospect, people are like, oh, the defense sucked. And they did suck, like, to be very clear here. But the offense dug that hole. The offense was horrible in this game and allowed things to get to a point where Detroit was just able to mount a lead that they were comfortable from punching down from the entire time. Did the offense rally in the third quarter and early on in the fourth? Sure, fine. And I give them some props for that. But they are the ones, and we've said that all season long, if the defense can just be average, which I think they were maybe a little bit worse than early on in this game, and then stabilize, that's enough for the offense. But the offense was asleep at the wheel, and you can certainly criticize Pickens for that. I don't think Dak started off too on fire. I think this was just a game, though, where the Lions wanted it more. I hate to boil it down to like simplicities like that because I don't really believe in that. But the Lions knew their lives were on the line and they played like that. And the Cowboys
home, I took the Lions to win. I said I need to see the Cowboys prove it on the road. The Cowboys have not been as good on the road, and they are at home. The Lions have been very good at home. The Lions have bounced back after literally every single loss this year. Like this is what the formula has been for them. So it's not like shocking to me the Lions won at all.
I did interview Tyler Smith on Friday. He's a big Japanese culture fan, by the way. He was big into Digimon and Pokemon growing up. That was interesting to learn about. And he's played Ghosts of Yote. Ghosts might be single.
I just started that recently. I've not played it as much as I would like to, lack of time. But yes,
yeah.
Are you familiar with the first game?
No, so he and I were talking about this, and he told me to go play that, obviously, and then to go play this.
It is the most beautiful game I ever played, and just in terms of like the visuals, I think it's just like that's not when you play. That's not why I play a video game. Like you're obviously playing it to like do the stuff, but there are times where you catch yourself being like, "Wow, this is like beautiful."
So in addition to sharing all of that, he also noted that Shoddy told them, in the aftermath, and just to like pick yourself up and dust yourself off type speech. That if they want to be, a team who wins the Super Bowl, at some point they're going to have to go on the road and beat a really good team. And they didn't do that last Thursday night. And so you can argue that they failed. And I think everyone was really down. And that's why, when the Eagles were across midfield, it really seemed like, oh man, like this is about to blow up in smoke. Because if right now, I don't know what number I'd put on the Cowboys playoff chances, which are really boiled down to winning the NFC East. They're alive for a wild card, but pragmatically and practically, that seems pretty difficult because they would need multiple teams to collapse as opposed to relative to the NFC East. They need a singular team to collapse, and the singular team they need to collapse happens to like love collapsing. And so that being said, I feel really good. I mean, really good in like a fan way, really good in like a this is possible way. I'm not saying like really good, I would go bet on it way. But if the Eagles had won, it would be very difficult to imagine that they would lose 3 of their remaining 4. I feel very confident that Dallas can win out. And I think like I am not the sunshiny, positive, hey, y'all are being too hard on the Cowboys person, but I really felt like that was the case last week. If I had told, and I don't like to do this, but if I had told anyone at the beginning of the season, dude, they're going to take 2 out of 3 between Philly, Kansas City, and Detroit, everyone would be like, that's really impressive. You know what I mean? And that happened after the start they had makes it even more impressive, I think, relative to context.
I don't think they will. Do you think they will?
Your connection was bad at the beginning of that. I don't know.
Do you think the Cowboys will win out? Because I said I think I will. I think they can, but I don't think they will.
First of all, Eagles Girl 52 we're learning about is a Chinese woman.
Wow.
So said that if you went to Japan, you would be even more of a giant. Well, you're 6'5", so I mean I don't know how tall that would be over there, but from a vibes standpoint. But that being said, Eagles Girl 52 was a podcast listener, now a YouTube watcher, Chinese woman, and 5'1". All we need is a social security number, and we can, really make some hay around here. But are we ready to spin forward? Like, do we have any Commanders notes? I mean, they got blasted by the Vikings.
Commanders were officially eliminated from the playoffs. I think that's relevant, at least from my perspective, for the Eagles, because they play the Commanders twice here in the final. In the final 3 games, still 4 games left, and obviously they play the Cowboys still. So there was a scenario where
the Commanders play the Cowboys, not the Eagles. Just to clarify, right?
Commanders still play the Cowboys. There was a scenario where they beat Minnesota, and like they're not officially eliminated yet, so not like they're likely to make the playoffs, but they still kind of like be going all out. And you're already seeing it this week, I think, in part because they have been eliminated. That like they're not going to risk it with Jaden Daniels, and they shouldn't. I said that last week. They shouldn't be playing. There's no point of playing Jaden Daniels. Like just
they took a lot of heat for that after the crazy interception that Jaden threw, and then where you got blasted on the return. There was
that's
the
other thing. Like here's a crazy. Sorry to cut you off, but like. The other part of that to me is like it's not like you have Ben DiNucci out there playing for Ben DiNucci, but it's not even like you have a quarterback out there who's like such a joke that you obviously can't play because you're like gonna lose the respect of every other player on the team. Like Mariota's been playing pretty good. Like just put him out there because you're not even like you're still competitive with him. There's every reason to put him out there instead of Jaden Daniels. And he obviously he's probably playing better than Jaden Daniels right now, honestly.
So Cam Scatterboo's walking around for the Giants, posted on his Instagram story. He was walking into the facility, so great to see. But that's kind of it. Also, before we spin ahead, that's going to take up.
I think it's relevant to note that the Giants right now currently have the number 1 pick. Like we'll see, if that holds. But that's interesting because they're probably going to trade it. I would guess if they kept it if they end up being number 1.
Maybe traded in town.
I saw the Field Yates ESPN mock draft. With that possibility today.
Traded from Mike Tomlin.
I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback. I do think it's like worth asking the question if they should. I think Jackson Dart has an interesting future in terms of like his ability, but like the health thing is a real thing for me. That's a real like question. And also the idea of they're going to have a new head coach, maybe a new GM. It would just kind of be nice to finally get that all on the same page. I don't know. Let's be clear. I don't know enough about like the quarterbacks in this year's draft to like have a strong stance on like if they should take that's better than Jackson Dart. But if there is, like, I wouldn't just automatically say, oh, we have Dart. We're not even, it shouldn't be like off the table that they wouldn't even consider drafting a quarterback. They should absolutely be on the table for them if the right player would be there.
The trade you're talking about or the mock you're talking about was Field Yates's that came out today. And he did have the Giants trading with the Jets, trading the number 1 overall pick to the Jets. The Jets have a lot of draft capital, obviously, in the aftermath of all their trades. And it was so that the Jets could take a quarterback, and it was Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, who may or may not win the Heisman. I mean, but so like that's the time of year we're at where like there's a lot that hasn't been like evaluated and whatever. So, okay, so let's spin forward here. Also, before we fully spin forward, I have only seen the first episode of the NFC East Hard Knocks. I have not seen the second that came out on Tuesday. It's good. Good so far.
I haven't watched them. It was very funny to me. I don't know if I had this take already, but going into last week, people were like, "Oh my god, it's all captured. What's going to be revealed? Nothing's going to be revealed. Not like when is something interesting revealed? on Hard Knocks.
I saw that Nick took a lot of heat for like a placard on his desk. He should
do epic stuff.
Yeah. And people are so quick to compare him to Kendall Roy. I recognize that. That was very Kendall Roy-ish. Like, you're feeding the stereotype at a certain point, is my point, Nick. But if you believe in that motto, that creed, it's up to you. Okay, so week 15. I think, though, our spin forward obviously involves week 15. And all due respect to the Giants and Commanders, they're only relevant for this discussion in terms of being opponents that the Cowboys and Eagles are playing. So I think, and I'm curious if you agree, I asked my friend Jimmy this, not Kemsky. The Cowboys' magic number, to go back to some parlance that you were using, is 6, and the Eagles is 3. So the Eagles need 3 things between their own wins or Cowboys losses, and the Cowboys need 6 things between their own wins and Eagles losses to win the NFC East either way. So from a Cowboys side of things, I feel confident, and just I think we can put these at, like, we can say they're going to beat the Giants and Commanders and Vikings. I think we're willing to say, like, we could debate, we could quibble, but like I think those 3 I'm willing to put in the like that's probably going to happen bucket.
My framing, the way I look at it, is I think they're going to lose. The Cowboys are either going to lose the Vikings or the Chargers game, but probably not both.
Okay, so then you kind of agree with me for the point of my discussion. So this would take us, the Chargers game would be like the point of like true debate for the Cowboys. I think the Eagles are very clearly going to beat the Raiders. And I would offer, I think the Eagles are going to clearly lose to the Bills. Like those, again, I'm willing to put these in the like,
probably, but somehow this team is weird and they watch them.
Okay, but again, I'm putting these 5 games, Cowboys against the Vikings, Commanders, and Giants, and the Eagles beating the Raiders but losing to the Bills in the bucket of like chalk, right?
It's also possible that game doesn't mean a lot to the Bills. I think they're going to probably play their starters, but it's not impossible it wouldn't be a meaningless game for them.
It's not. It's the penultimate week of the regular season. It's really difficult to be fully locked at, you could still be jockeying for wild card.
I think it's unlikely to be clear, but I don't think it's impossible.
They play the Patriots on Sunday this week, so that could go a long way. We were actually debating including that in our rooting guide or not. But that, and also they could be jockeying if they leapfrog them for the number 1 seed or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that being said, so we agree, those 5 things, the chalk bucket. That takes us to 3 things that would have to go the Cowboys' way, and only one of them would have to go the Eagles' way. Or no, 2 of them would have to go the Eagles' way, sorry. But Cowboys, Chargers, and the 2 Eagles, Commanders games. And so you think the Cowboys are going to lose in this hypothetical to the Chargers because you think they're going to beat the Vikings. I don't know that I'm willing to believe the Eagles are going to split with the Commanders. That's a really common sentiment. I just don't.
They're going to get swept, or you think they're
no. I think it's way more likely. I think it's most likely they sweep and then split and then get swept. I don't think there's any way they're getting swept. But I just have I feel confident that the Eagles will lose to the Bills. I mean, I think the most practical second loss would be against Washington, whichever way. But I don't think that that's going to happen. Obviously, if they lost to the Raiders, that opens up like everything. But I mean, I just don't, as much as I want it to happen, particularly enjoyable for me and particularly great for content for us is for the Eagles to beat the Raiders and Commanders and then lose the Bills game. And for the Cowboys to win out in that process. So for us to go into week 18 with Dallas needing a win and an Eagles loss and Philly needing a win for the division, that would be entertaining.
I hope the Cowboys win out in a scenario where they do not win the division, because I hope they get like the 18th pick, which is the worst pick you can get in terms of.
They currently, this will make you happy, have the 15th pick, and the Packers pick, because they keep winning, is 28th, which stinks.
I want the Cowboys to win out and not make the playoffs. That is my personal hope.
I'm imagining a world where the Eagles beat the Packers in the playoffs and Cowboys fans cope themselves into saying that this was actually better because it improved.
I mean, that would be, because they're probably not going to, let's be real, I don't think the Eagles are going to win the game after that. So you're going to play what, Rams or Seahawks or something. So that probably actually would be true. I think that is fair to say.
So let's get to the games, this week's games. Now we do these in chronological order, and I guess we'll pick New York and Washington, who play each other. In fact, let's get that one out of the way. The Giants are 2.5-point home favorites against the Commanders. The Marcus Mariota led, as Chris Collinsworth said, Marcus Mariota.
Like, it's impossible for me to take the Eagles to cover from a standpoint of the offense.
We're doing Giants and Commanders first. Great job listening to the whole conversation.
Well, I'm looking at my screen here, and the Eagles game is ahead of that game, so I was assuming it was chronologically.
I know, but I was trying to build anticipation.
anticipation. Let's go to the okay. So 2.5.
I'm
Giants
gonna
are coming
take the
off a bye.
Commanders.
I'm gonna take the Giants because they're coming off a bye, and I don't know. I really don't.
I'm gonna take the Commanders because
Commanders
the
missing Zach
Giants.
Ertz now.
Well, and
Yep.
the Giants currently hold the #1 overall pick. You can't play with that fire.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't feel great about it, but I don't know.
So, okay, fine. We're split. This was the game that you mentioned the breaking news about. So the Eagles are 11.5-point home favorites against the Raiders. And there was a question in the chat earlier about this. It does appear, according to reports, that it will be Kenny Pickett in this game, in all likelihood, not Geno Smith. I think a lot of people would say it's actually better news for the Raiders. I think you would say. Well, I'm just saying you're very anti-Geno. Like it is.
I also
truly...
am very. I saw Kenny Pickett play for the Eagles in training camp, and it was a terrible experience.
I wanted to say it this way: Kenny Pickett could be the Jonathan Gannon here, right? Like if the Raiders game is the Cardinals game, like the son who returns home to ruin everything. He has that, and I wanted to save this for this part of the discussion, but in a moment where people are calling for Jalen Hurts to be benched, for Tanner McKee, not even obviously for Kenny Pickett. Like if Kenny Pickett went off against the Eagles defense, like I'm trying to conceive of the like funniest possible scenario here against the Eagles defense. It's playing very, very, very well. Like that would invite a number of questions and antagonists.
I would be shocked if it would happen, just because from the standpoint of like, well, I think Vic Fangio has earned the benefit.
Great comment, by the way.
I mean, in fairness, he
played. Yeah,
he did throw a pass, which is a lot. Was one more pass than Dak Prescott has attempted in a Super Bowl ever, and might be ever. So, Kenny Pickett and he was also on the field for the final kneel downs as well. So he is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, you could say.
Him and Jalen Hurts are equal in that sense.
But yeah, I really did not like the Pickett trade last year. And honestly, I think you would back me up on this. Like I kind of liked Pickett a little bit, like when he was coming out. Like I had some hope for Kenny Pickett. I wasn't always a hater of his, like a lot of people were. But I watched a lot of those games for whatever reason. I think it was the 2023 season because the Eagles were on like they played 3 1:00 games that year. So they were never on at 1:00, and the Steelers were always on here in Pennsylvania.
Well, the Eagles and Steelers used to be one team.
That's true.
Steelers. So, and Kenny Pickett went to Pitt, and they share a facility with the Steelers.
There you go.
It's pretty cool.
I watched a lot of those Steelers games, and I was like, man, the Kenny Pickett experience is pretty dreadful here. And then I was like, I didn't like the Eagles trading for him because it was blocking Tanner McKee, who I talked about earlier, who I just like independently of Jalen Hurts or anything. And I thought that was a bad trade. And then I watched Kenny Pickett stink it up in training camp and preseason games last year. And I'm like, what are we doing? And then he got hurt like last season and he had to play. It was like playing through a rib injury. I'm like, he shouldn't even be playing over McKee if he's healthy. To his credit, he did help blow out the Cowboys last year in that Week 17 game, which helped the Eagles clinch the NFC East. So great. But I have long said that Kenny Pickett is not very good. And
Kenny Pickett was able to wear the Kelly Green uniforms and beat the Cowboys when Jalen Hurts was not.
There you go.
That's interesting.
Wow. Huge
controversy. That's I'm able
to wear a jersey color.
I recognize how bad the Raiders are. I am not laying 11.5 points on the Eagles against anyone. So I'm taking the points, but
they can't score.
I agree. I agree. Like I know that we keep uncovering all these like statistics as a society about the Eagles, and that there was the Jalen Hurts double turnover thing that we talked about. But like I don't even know how to look this up. But like I imagine that there are very few instances of an offense being like this dreadful and the team being this successful and then still being a double-digit point favorite like the very next week after no offense whatsoever. But I mean the Raiders are that bad, so I will take the Eagles to win, but I will take the points because obvious.
Yep, agree. Totally agree.
So that is a noon game this week. So get a nice little break. The Cowboys play on Sunday Night Football. Their second straight primetime game. Third if you count Thanksgiving. Oh, it's not a primetime game, but I forecast, not even forecast. I told you this was coming. I told you we're going to get the Cowboys in your lives over and over and over again. They host the Vikings. First game at home since the Thanksgiving Day game, but first Sunday game in general since the Eagles' 21-point comeback, but 6.5-point favorites against the Minnesota Vikings.
I'll take the Vikings to cover and Cowboys win. the Vikings are still technically alive for the playoffs, but like, it's very, very slim. But I think that was kind of significant as they beat the Commanders. And so they still have like kind of motivation to go all out. But Cowboys have been too good at home. And I think they're going to bounce back after, a little mini bye for them, having last played on Thursday night. So Cowboys win the game. But the Vikings still have talent. They will fight. But they also still have J.J. McCarthy. And that's not going to be good enough, even against this Cowboys defense. They are going to lose the game by like a field goal. So they'll cover, but lose.
I think this is the like Cowboys puff their chest out game. This is the like they go off and everyone's like, oh man, could they do it? The Eagles are going to lose to the Bills and blah. You know what I mean? Like the conversation gets really loud. I think they this is their like finest hour type game. I think they win like I'm gonna say like 34-20. Like I feel, and some of that might be like a late touchdown to make it look worse. But I'll take them and I'll lay the points. I don't do that often with this team. By the way, do you know the Monday night game this week? It stinks.
I'll take a glance here and I see. No, I actually like that game. I don't hate that game.
Pittsburgh, Miami.
Yeah, I mean, they're both of those teams are still. The Dolphins have won what 3 in a row here. They're kind of.
I meant to say this a moment ago. 2026 Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel. Like it feels inevitable in my mind.
There's people who, I mean, that's been brought up. There's people who've been like that wouldn't happen because Vic Fangio and him didn't seem to get along well. But I don't know that's necessarily even true. And it's different. It'd also be a different dynamic. It's not like Mike McDaniel is Vic Fangio's boss.
Well, and then the Eagles can trade for Tua and he can take over for Jalen Hurts.
Oh wow. I would hate. I'm not a Tua guy.
It would be cool to cover a left-handed quarterback like Kellen Moore. Once upon a time.
I like Tua more than I think some of his biggest haters like him, but I don't.
You like Tua because you went to Dolphins training camp and saw him.
I think Tua can light it up at times. Yes, I think he would be great for the Raiders. Like, if you literally have zero quarterback, honestly, put Tua on the Vikings right now. I don't know. That could be interesting. He's better than J.J. McCarthy.
By the way, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're about to do songs, but next week is going to be awesome from a be a football fan standpoint.
Tua is like Kirk Cousins, basically. Of
Thursday night football. So it's interesting how you like Tua, but you didn't like Kirk. Huh. Wow. Thursday night football, we've got Rams in Seattle. And then there was all this discussion about the college football playoff schedule for the opening round this Saturday. Because that Saturday we have Eagles at Commanders, which obviously a lot of Cowboys fans will be hate watching. And then we have the Bears hosting the Packers. So we get college football playoff games that Saturday and 2 massive NFL games from an implication standpoint. But yeah. Okay. So are you ready for songs?
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay.
So I am going to go with what I believe is a Christmas song, but we already have it kind of on the playlist. This is not a Christmas movie. It's not even a movie technically, but it's a Broadway show, Rent, that is a movie. I added Seasons of Love a long time ago, which is the intro song to it. And for anyone who's unaware, Seasons of Love, the chorus was taken in The Office when Michael Scott leaves.
Okay. But that's what I was going to ask.
Right. But the main words of the song are 525,600 minutes. That's how many minutes are in a year. And so Seasons of Love kind of is like the whole production takes place over the course of a year, and shows like the highs and lows of this group of friends' experiences. But as the second act begins of the play and in the movie, there's a version where they talk about, they sing obviously, whether you measure the year in cups of coffee, in laughter, and things like that. So it's the same tune, same melody, but I'm putting it's the technical name is Seasons of Love B. Is what's on the playlist.
You mentioned the just like what you said there about like the cup measuring whatever cups of coffee, whatever you have in here. I really would like to believe that like when we die, you get to like know stats. I really wish that would be true.
Oh, like a life wrapped.
I really wish we could have life stats. That would be so interesting to me. How many bites you've taken, how many sneezes you've had, like
how many liters of water.
I just want to know all. I want to be able to know all of that.
Miles
I think that would
walked.
Be really,
times
everything. I think that would
movies watched.
All of it.
Pizza's eaten.
You
should do a pizza wrapped. We're coming up on the new year. You should take a picture of every pizza you eat in 2026.
That's not a bad idea. Did I tell you about the time in 20? Was it 20? I forget which year it was. Might have been 2021, where I made a New Year's resolution. I probably have brought this up before, where the goal of like the resolution was more about the activity. It was more like I want to commit to just something for a year.
I remember this.
Yeah, and I picked like I'm going to count the amount of change I find on the ground through the entire year, and I did it. And I was proud like that I actually fell through. And I was also curious to know how much I could pick up in a year. I think it was like $13 or something, which is like a lot of coins. And I walk a lot. So anyway, that's what your thing made me think of. My song choice, I'm going to say, is influenced this week by last Friday. I went to a Lord of the Rings.
Hell yeah!
Like live music performance. Like so, they played. It was Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring, which is the first of the trilogy for people unfamiliar. And like, that was on the screen.
Those people aren't here because the people who are here are familiar.
That's very true. On the screen, and then there was a choir. One of Rachel's friends was in the choir. I don't want to dox her. I don't know if she wants her name not out there, so I'm just gonna say shout out to Rachel's friend, in case doesn't want it to be doxed.
Galadriel. It was Galadriel.
Yeah, Lady Galadriel, and a huge choir, adult choir also, and then like a children's choir too next to that, which is like really cool because then there were certain parts, you know, where like the kids were, and there were like there's a certain song at the end of that soundtrack where like one of the kids does a solo and it's like incredible. The whole performance was incredible, and then you have the instruments down below too, the conductor and everything. Really cool, really well done. I've had Lord of the Rings theme music stuck in my head ever since then because of that, and hadn't seen that movie in a long time. Big fan of that series, but I don't usually rewatch The Fellowship for whatever reason. I like the Return of the King, you know, the best. Yeah, I would say, and Two Towers also really good. So I'm gonna pick. I was trying to think like what song do I pick from this, because you could go with the one that's like, you know, the you know, the basic Lord of the Rings song, I guess you could call it, the most ubiquitous note. But I'm gonna go with like the more dramatic and kind of like scary song from when in the first movie they're on Weathertop where the ring wraiths are coming after them. And it's like that very dramatic. That's a pretty cool song. That's actually called A Knife in the Dark. It's by Howard Shore, at least on Apple Music, from the Lord of the Rings soundtrack there, the Fellowship of the Ring. So
how cool.
Yeah, really good song. And I really want to watch, I've been meaning to rewatch Lord of the Rings with my dad. I really want to watch that with him. The extended editions. I really kind of just want to, I don't know if we're gonna like binge it and do, you know, a whole marathon, or maybe I think my goal is, they used to do this on TNT where they would do all three movies, but on like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I kind of think I want to do that with him. I think that'd be really cool to do that again. So that's my goal.
I'm glad you brought this up. I hope that you and Mr. Gowton accomplish this. Last Friday, we've all been in this like mode as sports fans. I had, you know what it's like the day after a game, and like when you're running like a million games, it feels like in a row, you're like, I got to do all this stuff again. Like I was kind of it's way less fun when your team loses, obviously. And so that was my like mood last Friday. And I didn't want any sports on. Like I didn't want any talk shows or anything like that. So I was like, and then I had a Christmas movie on for like 10 minutes. And I was like, I'm just not feeling this. And shout out to David Chancellor, who is on television in San Antonio. I did some radio with him a long time ago. He was the first person that ever told me that he felt the Harry Potter movies were Christmas movies. And so I was like, you know what? I put on Sorcerer's Stone. And I thought to myself, I need to, like, throughout the season, watch all of them and the Lord of the Rings movies. Those are like, I don't know why they feel like Christmas movies, but they do. I could certainly, if I were you after that experience, I would always associate it with Christmas now.
I think Lord of the Rings movies are Christmas movies.
Yeah. There's something to it. Like, I don't know. Chance's logic was that when he thinks Christmas, he thinks magic. Now, Lord of the Rings.
There's something too to like having time, you know, right? Like you need some, it's a time of the year where you probably have some time to kill relative to other times. And you're staying inside. So you're not like, it's not like the summer where you're going out and doing something. Like you're inside, you have time. So therefore, and also you want to put something on that, like, I don't know if you're experimenting with a new movie as much as you want to throw on something you know you're going to enjoy.
Yeah. Have you watched Rings of Power?
I have. Yes.
Okay. Good for you.
And it was kind of tough because it came out right around when House of the Dragon did. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken. And like
the first season, because there have been two now.
Right? Yes. And it was kind of like, I just want to watch more House of the Dragon. So it was kind of tough because I think if it came out at a different time for me personally, I would have like been more intrigued and to watch it, but it was okay. I mean, I'm gonna watch them, the rest of them, I guess, if there's more, but I don't feel like they're can't miss. But I wouldn't like tell people you have to watch it.
My last thing, and then we can leave, is that Lord of the Rings is responsible for one of my favorite gifts that you can use. Like I use it a lot, and it's King Aragorn. You have my sword. Like I love you. I love any reason to say that to someone. Like, you have my sword.
You have my sword and my bow and my axe.
Yeah.
It was funny, by the way, watching that movie with other people, because like at certain moments there were like when Boromir says like one does not simply walk into Mordor. Even Rachel, who has never seen these movies, like she knew that meme. So like, and everyone's laughing at that point. So it is kind of funny to I guess watch a movie a rewatch. So that's a experience I guess I haven't really had a lot now that I think about, like rewatching a well-known movie with other people as opposed to like going to the theater and seeing it for the first time. So I guess that's an element too. Just everyone knowing the beats and like clapping at certain points too. Like not even just because of the music, but because like something heroic happened, and then like everyone's like, yeah, or like Gandalf comes on screen. It's like, yeah, like people get really excited for certain beats of the movie.
Wow. Shout out to Gandalf. Also got a shout out. I mean,
I was thinking about it. Is like Gandalf one of the coolest? I think he is. I think if you ask me like who's like one of the coolest fictional characters ever, does anyone not like Gandalf?
I think I don't think so,
right?
That point is proven, and this whole thing has become like an ad for HBO Max because the Lord of the Rings movies are there, and Hard Knocks is there, and Friends is there. I don't know, your knowledge base of Friends is not as expansive as mine. Just being literal here.
Rachel's a big Friends person, but I
mean, her name's Rachel, so that makes sense. But in season 4, Ross and Chandler are referring to a friend they've had, and this guy, like their friend, like anytime he's in town, like it's always like an epic night, and they call him Gandalf because he's like he creates magic at like magical nights for them, whatever. And so Joey's like, what the hell is that? Like, what? They're like, Gandalf, the magical wizard from The Hobbit, and he's like, I don't know what that is. It's like, my point is though, like even in the mid-90s, someone like made Gandalf synonymous with cool. To your point, like there's no one who thinks he's anything other than very, very. It's not just that he's like not bad. He's cool. He's super duper cool.
But this is like one of the things you talk about with the inverse of like when it's rare in the NFL when everyone's just like can agree on one thing. Like Urban Meyer, everyone's like, this is gonna be a disaster. No one was like, actually, Urban Meyer's really gonna work out. I mean, I'm sure you could find like a person who's very fringe extreme, and I'm sure they might have been Ohio State fans or whatever. But most people, almost unanimous approval rating. I think Gandalf has a unanimous approval rating. I don't think I've ever seen a person who's like, actually, Gandalf's kind of lame, or he's fine. Everyone loves him.
Those people aren't anywhere because they suck. Also, Eagles Grow 52 was, I think we kind of understand it.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of went long there. Just to reiterate that, if that wasn't clear, A Knife in the Dark, Howard Shore. That is the credit on Apple Music.
And it is in the Fellowship of the Ring, as far as the movies are concerned. Okay, well, we covered a lot of ground today. If Rent is on HBO Max, this really was an ad for them, an unintended one.
Good show. Man. Good show today. Good audience participation too.
That's right. Brandon, as we leave,
it is the NFC least with all 3 teams losing.
Yeah. As we leave, if Jalen Hurts were a member of the Lord of the Rings entire fellowship, who would he be and why? Actually, who would Jalen Hurts be and who would Dak Prescott be? So you cover both sides.
Well, I mean, Dak Prescott's like after the ring he can never get. So I guess that's him. He's Gollum.
Gollum had the ring. What are you talking about? Like for someone who seems to have an expansive
but he's like trying to chase after it and he never actually truly has it,
That wouldn't, again, I would offer
like he's kind of like dancing around it.
The answer would be like Legolas, like someone who has no affiliation with the ring, to go with your line of thought here.
I think desperate.
Gollum, I guess Gollum never had the ring, but Smeagol did have the ring.
That is true. But I said Gollum, and I did not say Smeagol.
I know.
By the
Legolas, we agree.
As I buy more time, going to be on Sports Radio 94 WIP tonight. So somehow, if you're listening to this live, or if you're watching the replay before 6 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, December 10th, although they podcast it too, so I guess you could check that there too. But 6 to 8, I'm going to be on with Elliot Shore Parks. So check that out. A little plug. And then who is Jalen Hurts? Well, he has the ring.
So Dak is Legolas. So I guess that makes Jalen Hurts Frodo right now. Like he has the ring. And actually like from a story standpoint, like it's the challenge of holding the ring. Like it brings with it you know, a lot of circumstances that you wouldn't necessarily want. Brings with it a lot of power, a lot of benefit, but also, you know, a bit of a tough scene. What he needs Galadriel. He needs Galadriel to show up and give him some sort of tool. Lane Johnson is Galadriel.
Frodo is so like pathetic in those, at least in the Fellowship of the Ring, by the way. Like, it's just like, I guess that's part of it, but he really is truly just like so like wimpy and weak.
I mean,
like,
he's a hobbit. Like, that's the whole point. Like,
but like just even, and like I like Elijah Wood, you know, no shade on the actual actor, but the character is just like so like, it's just so funny to me how like just totally kind of
okay. So Dak is Legolas and Jalen Hurts is Frodo.
Brandon, I don't know. Sure.
Lee Gowton's words. Okay. Whatever. Say ring and we leave.
Who's Legolas? Or sorry, who's Gandalf then? Because like who is like unanimous? Who is the ubiquitous, unanimous? Not ubiquitous. You must like unanimously approve. That's not true.
It is. There's no one that thinks he isn't cool. No one.
No.
Okay. Well, who's your nominee? I
don't know. That's why I asked the question. It's hard to.
I already answered it.
It's hard to come up with it.
I almost said Big Dom, but there's a lot of people who are kind of like, so.
Is there an NFL player who everyone just loves?
This is the NFC East mixtape, Brandon.
Yeah. Brian Dawkins.